What's going on, guys? Hey, we've been doing a lot of well-known fragrances recently, and you know I'm all about balance to the conversation of fragrance. So today we're going to take a little pit stop. We're going to take a stroll through Dupe Town. Strap up. Welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Guys, this one's going to be a little bit unique today. Normally, when I first started this channel, I'd have kind of a notes, like an introduction story, initial thoughts. And I've kind of ingrained that into my memory in terms of how I run these episodes. I like them to be concise, but thorough and familiar the more and more you watch them. So you know what to expect every time you come to this channel. This is a no fluff, but also not a super light channel either. We do get into the nitty gritty, but in a very fast and convenient way. We all got life to live. We all got jobs, families, kids, school, etc. And the last thing you need to be doing is nerding out over extensively on my channel. I want you guys to feel like you come here, you get equipped, you get a little entertained, and you roll out about your day. So this one's going to follow a little bit of a different format today because there really isn't a Fragrantica for this. Shoot, there's not even really a website for this. Today we're going to talk about a fragrance called Taxco Eau de Parfum from Milestone Perfumes. Now, a lot of you nerdy fragrance buffs out there are immediately going to turn this video off, which is why I've titled it appropriately to basically be clickbaity, because I want you to at least hear what I have to say about this fragrance. Many of you may have been in your local TJ Maxx or, discount retailer and come across this fragrance just laying out. It's so cheap, they don't even bundle it up in any kind of box. It's always discounted. You can pretty much get this fragrance south of $15, as low as like $8. And I want to talk a little bit about it because I don't think that it's so bad it's not worth talking about. I think this is super fitting for a certain type of person, but I also want to kind of conceptualize where it sits in the conversation of fragrance, because I think this actually is a valid fragrance. Many of you think you already know about this fragrance just because you've smelled it, but I'm going to get into my science bag and take the conversation a little bit further so that maybe some of you reconsider this as a possibility, depending on if you're early in your fragrance journey or not, or if you haven't really messed with the YSL Tuxedo DNA. This should be a helpful video for you. If you're very familiar with this, nonetheless, it should be entertaining. And if you haven't put your nose to this at all, this will certainly be helpful for you, because this is a fragrance that if you're in a TJ Maxx at least, you're always going to come across a bottle of this at some point. It's popular enough in the discounters where people pick it up, but it's often resold on things like Facebook groups and forums and different things like that. But you will often enough, if you go into these stores frequently, you'll eventually run into this bad boy. So we're going to break it down if you've never put your nose to it. What is this? This is an inspiration of YSL Tuxedo. Now, before I get into the nitty gritty and put this on a test strip and get a fresh whiff of it myself, I have Maison Alhambra's Kismet, okay? Let's not talk about what's the best YSL Tuxedo clone, because there's quite a few. I believe even Tarathy Brown from Afnan is a Tuxedo clone, and there's many others to speak of. YSL Tuxedo is not a hard DNA to clone. Authentically one-to-one, yes, maybe, but to get in the realm of 85% or higher in terms of closeness, in my experience with all of the inspirations, has not really been that hard. It's kind of like Mancera's Red Tobacco. Even though I don't love that fragrance, most dupes of that fragrance nail at least 80% of the gist of that fragrance, even though it's a bad fragrance to me. And I think it's because of its DNA. It's not that hard to formulate. I have Kismet, and I absolutely love it. Is it YSL Tuxedo? No, but is it 90% plus? Yes. Is it a beautiful fragrance? Yes. Is it long lasting and powerful? 2-spray killer, tons of utility. This is the master of the ballroom, master of romance and date night and all that stuff. Absolutely. This has incredible utility, and I've made a decent little crack in my bottle. Again, I'm from Arizona, so I have to be in an aerating indoor setting to rock this because I can't really rock it outdoors. It's mostly hot, north of 100 degrees a lot of the year. And so that's the only reason more juice is not cracked into with this bottle. Don't let this fool you at all. For Arizona, this is a substantial dent for a cold weather fragrance. What is the DNA of Tuxedo? Well, matter of fact, that's a decent reason we can pull up Fragrantica is to go to Tuxedo. So let's go ahead and do that now, just to get you guys off my face briefly. So let's go here and do YSL Tuxedo, and I promise this will be a fast video. The DNA of Tuxedo, and as you can see, Taxco has matched the bottle almost 1-to-1. The DNA is this sweet fragrance. I don't want to let this note breakdown fool you. I'd rather do an initial thoughts, but essentially this fragrance is warm, it's ambery, it's sweet, slightly floral, very seductive. It's a little bit spicy. It's vanilla forward. It's not the strongest vanilla, but it's certainly got a meaty 40-50% chunk of vanilla in there. It's substantial. It's got a little bit of a booziness to it. Not necessarily rummy or anything like that. Maybe like a bourbon or dark liquor, something like that. But again, this is like your 007 Casino Royale, date night, spiffy theater type of seductive fragrance. You might be suit and tie, you might be semi-formal to formal, etc. So that's what we're talking about here. Yeah, when I look at this note breakdown, violet leaf up top, coriander, bergamot, mid, rose, black pepper, lily of the valley, and base patchouli, ambergris, and vanilla, it's hard for me to show this to you guys because for me, what I get is kind of the pepper, ambergris, vanilla, patchouli, and maybe a little bit of coriander. I get less of the rose and the florals and the citrus, which is why I kind of, if you look at my review of Kismet, I kind of liken it to this bourbony vanilla ice cream with spices and slightly floral. But nonetheless, I wanted to just show you that. This is a seductive fragrance. Nothing really like something like Privé, but in essence it is, because again, it's this sweet, vanillic, slightly floral. Even though it's a different category of floral, spicy, ambery, it still has the nuts and bolts of that type of composition. And it's this very warm, spicy, sweet seduction, but it has a much different kind of nuance than something like a Privé, which is more iris powder forward, which really dominates the fragrance. This leans more in that bourbon, pepper, amber direction. I really like this fragrance, guys. The reason I wanted to bring up a couple of different fragrances like the Off Non Tarothi Brown, Taxco, Kismet, and kind of show it to Tuxedo, because I think Kismet is a substantial fragrance. I got to just say that. For 20 bucks, 100 ml, this will be a powerful fragrance in your lineup if you don't already own Tuxedo and you want to be cost efficient. This is widely available, $20, 100 ml. This is like the perfect check all your boxes and categories fragrance in the inspiration category. You could stop here. But if you wanted to take it down even further to picking it up locally and not waiting for shipping, Taxco is very close to Kismet. I would say Kismet feels slightly more like an authentic formulation as far as cologne is concerned. It's got a little bit more potency and density, but due to the nature of the DNA, Taxco is right there beside it. You will not be mad that you purchased this if you did a side-by-side comparison to Kismet at all. And so for that reason, if you come across it in your local discounters, I would pick it up if I were you, because you're going to get this for somewhere between 8 and 15 bucks. It's going to be a decent amount cheaper. You're still going to get 100 ml. And it's really not much different than this. It is a little more eau de toilette, for lack of better words, like a little bit more on the fresh light side. But because of its DNA, it's still very potent. 4 to 6 sprays is going to last you 8 hours plus with this. And so I just wanted to mention that. If you want something as true to form, I would go to Kismet. But if you just want the DNA and be able to get in your bag and wear it, here's what I would say. If you live in predominantly cold weather, grab Kismet off non-Taxco Brown or the actual Tuxedo. But if you're in somewhere that's kind of mixed up or dominantly warm weather, I think Taxco is going to be the play, because you're going to want to prioritize cost efficiency, because this fragrance still gets you about 80-85% in the door. And it's not a synthetic smelling fragrance. It's pretty nice. I think many people, if they're being overly critical, would say that this fragrance is like the worst of the dupes, which it may be, but it's still certainly a great smelling, slightly fresher take on the DNA, while still having that potency and longevity that you want for that night of seduction, and that closeness to the DNA that's close enough. There's not much else to cover. If you want the usual suspects, we've gone over price, we've gone over DNA. Age-wise, I truly think this could probably be anything north of 20 years old. South of 20 could rock for sure, but you need to dress up for the part. Don't be the guy that takes your girl on the date and you're just wearing shorts and a t-shirt and some Jordans. That will look out of place with this. But if you're, collared shirt, slacks, semi-formal and up, or even just more conscious of maybe not wearing a shirt, having maybe a button up, something collared, something more tailored fit, more of slimmer jeans that aren't baggy and stuff like that, you can certainly get away with something like this. But this is, again, a dominantly date night fragrance, and in any category of date night, shining in the nighttime, shining in colder weather, but you could do it in the daytime if you're indoors as well. And I think this could handle anything from a night at a good restaurant to a ballroom to a theater. You could dress it up or down, respectively. I think a lot of people in the fragrance community, actually, being real, I've seen a lot of people kind of review this, the smaller channels and whatnot. And even though the higher up you go in terms of the channels, some people kind of take a crap on this fragrance just because you have Taxco Brown and Kismet and stuff like that. Most people who have a big collection of dupes would tell you that this is a good fragrance. So I just wanted to kind of put my stake in the ground and say I'm one of those channels who's going to tell you Taxco is a completely valid fragrance to pick up. Price, performance, DNA, closeness, the category it fulfills. Absolutely necessary to have in your collection if you're chasing that DNA and you actually have access to a discounter that carries it. Is Tuxedo is Taxco Brown. And I hope it's Taxco Brown. Matter of fact, let me just look that up real quick. Taxco Brown clone of, okay, yeah. So the Tuxedo twist. Yeah, Taxco Brown or Kismet by Maison Alhambra is going to be a little bit better. So if you're one of those clone guys that still likes to buy them as if you're trying to get the most true to form clone, then yes, stop the video, go get Kismet or Taxco Brown, call it a day. But if you just want to get close and you see this in stores and you don't have the DNA, absolutely pick it up. Let me know in the comments if you guys have this fragrance or you've put your nose on it. This is going to be polarizing opinions in the chat, so listen to what I'm saying, guys. Just trust me on this. It is valid, but just know that people are going to have strong opinions. People who aren't really fond of this DNA. It's the same thing with Rafficat and things like Baby Cat and all that stuff. People have very polarizing opinions about the inspirations, but I'm here to tell you that it's valid. You're not going to be mad about your purchase unless you just simply are not that crazy about the DNA in general. Let me know if you have this fragrance. More importantly, where you've worn it, what kind of utility you've gotten out of it. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell so you can stay in line with all of our great content. I'm very shocked that we hit the 15-minute mark with this video, but you guys know how I do. I vomit on this channel until I feel you guys are equipped enough to decide if a purchase is valid for you, and I like to put everything on the line to make sure that you guys feel the value of what I bring to the review so that it's helpful for you. So appreciate you guys. Y'all be blessed. And until next time, this was Milestone's Taxco eau de parfum, but it performs in terms of DNA more eau de toilette, but it still has the performance. It's just a little more fresher and light due to its composition. But yeah, that's the fragrance. Be blessed. Take care.